Family, good morning. It's Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Happy Wednesday, October 29th. As you get your day started, my question for you is this. Which teams on this graphic make the college football playoffs? I know you're like, Kyle, I just woke up. I'm brushing my teeth. I haven't even had my coffee. What are you doing here? All right, so what we have here, and I'll go full screen, and I'll talk about this as well. I know if you're doing something else, don't mind me. I'll just be over here talking college football, okay? You have Indiana with the 97% chance. Now, this is from the ESPN All-State Predictor website, which is really fun to do. You can punch in your team and see what odds you have to make the championship. It's kind of like rat poison, but it's an open week. It's fun to do. So Indiana right now and Ohio State clearly on a collision course to meet in the Big Ten championship game. Then you could say theoretically the same for A&M and Alabama. However, we've discussed kind of the outcomes of SEC, and we understand that it's kind of any given Saturday for all of these teams, really, specifically in the SEC. Georgia with the 81% chance, followed by Oregon, Ole Miss, and then you go to the Big 12 champ, theoretically BYU, Georgia Tech, Miami, Vanderbilt, Texas. So let me kind of explain things, how I think it'll work kind of going forward. So what I did was I looked at this map right here, and I was like, all right, Kyle, if you had to seed the college football playoffs today, what would you do? How would you base it on kind of some notable wins, what you might think might happen in the next couple of weeks of college football based on where teams are? You have some of the data points here, college football. Let's discuss it and let's dive in. So I pulled up the actual bracket, and this is from the college football playoff actual website, right? So you know how it works. They have to get in all 5 conference champs. And if the conference champ is, ranked outside of the top 12, they're basically just ranked, like, for example, the Big 12 right here, I have them number 11, and like a Memphis from the AAC would be ranked number 12 because they'd be the next highest team, right? So let me kind of walk you through my playoff bracket right now if the playoffs were to start this weekend, okay? And based off just some other things that I would factor into the equation. So, number 1, Ohio State. I figured that them and Indiana, they get to each other, and in the Big 12, the Big 10 championship game goes to the Buckeyes. I heard even Joel Klatt talking today that if you just compared blind, he's always talking about blind comparisons. I guess that's kind of his approach. But he said if you had a blind comparison between Alabama and Ohio State, it wouldn't be close at all. It would just be all Ohio State. Well, that could be the case, but we've kind of gone through that same scenario when we looked at the statistics for Georgia, when we looked at the statistics for Vanderbilt, and even Missouri against Alabama. All those teams statistically were supposed to beat Alabama, and we all know how those games went. So just saying, you can't always just look at the stats. I think there's other elements that go into it, specifically the quarterback. But I have Ohio State right here at the number 1, and I think everybody in the country probably agree that if those two teams do, in fact, meet Ohio State and Indiana, I think a large majority is going to take Ohio State in that game. It would be utterly shocking if Indiana finishes the season, 13-0, whatever, going into the playoffs. So I have Ohio State. Now, what I'm thinking is kind of far out is that Alabama stays unbeaten the rest of the way, and so does A&M, okay? That would put A&M and Alabama to meet in the SEC championship, and I don't think that they would devalue losing to Alabama in the SEC championship. I think they would reward A&M for getting to that point. So, and maybe if Georgia finishes out undefeated as well the rest of the way, you have 11. What would you have? 11-1 or 12-1 Bama, 12-1 A&M, and 11-1 Georgia. And maybe they'd be like, well, how did Alabama play A&M? How did Alabama play Georgia? And maybe that determines kind of 3 or 4 for those particular teams. But let's just keep it easy like this and keep A&M again, and then you have Georgia up top. So you have 3 teams in the top 4 spots being from the SEC, right? 3 out of 4. Next up, I think you probably slide Indiana to that 5 spot, and then after that, Ole Miss at the 6th spot. Indiana would then be at that point 11-1, and Ole Miss would finish the season 11-1. Now, you know what's interesting? Georgia, they're probably like, go ahead and play in the SEC championship game. And Ole Miss is probably saying the same thing. They get a week to, not have to bang against high-level competition, can rest up. Georgia would be in an amazing position because they don't have to play an SEC title game, and they get an open week right before, their opening playoff game hosting either Indiana or Memphis. So they would be in a really good spot. Sometimes, though, an off week can kind of throw you off, specifically when it's like a long off week, like multiple off weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a time, what was it, when Bama lost, I think, in the Rose Bowl. They were playing some really good football when they beat Georgia. And I think if they would have played Michigan thereafter, they would have beat Michigan. But that long kind of break, transfer portal starts going crazy. Coaches start going everywhere. It's distracting. December is the most distracting month that there is for college football. It's distracting for the players, the coaches, recruiting. Everything is packed into December. It is bananas, okay? So Georgia would benefit from this because they don't play in the SEC championship game. So let me ask you inside the comment box, is it actually, like, do you want to make the SEC title game? Is it worth it to have to play another big-time opponent? And plus, we all know, you lose that game, I mean, you might be like Indiana or something like that. You might get punished and be taken back in the playoffs. I don't know. So number 5, I have Indiana. Number 6, I have Ole Miss. I just think that they kind of have a love fest with Indiana, and they'd probably see them over Ole Miss. Maybe I'm wrong. Number 7, Oregon. They're going to finish out 11-1 as well. So think about this: Ohio State could finish out 13-0 in the regular after the Big Ten championship. Bama would finish out 12-1. A&M would be 12-1. Georgia would be 11-1. Indiana would be 11-1. Oregon would be 11-1. Ole Miss would be 11-1. Isn't that crazy? And Georgia Tech, who knows what happens with them? Now, look, Georgia Tech could theoretically grab one of these top 4 spots, and I'll tell you how. So right now, Georgia Tech is undefeated. The good thing for Georgia Tech is they played Georgia at the back end of their season. So Georgia Tech beats Georgia and they win the ACC championship. Georgia Tech would 1,000,000% be a top 4 team. I don't think that they beat Georgia. That'll be one hell of a game. I've already talked to you about that quarterback. He is very talented, Haynes King. So, if they lose that game and still win the ACC championship, maybe they get an 8 spot. I don't know about Vanderbilt, and I don't know if they're going to be able to win out. Now, they play Texas and they play Tennessee. Each of those games are on the road right here for Vanderbilt. Do you think that Vanderbilt's able to go to the road this weekend and even beat Texas, and then at the back end beat Tennessee? You know what? Tennessee still has a great shot to make the college football playoffs. I'm serious. I know they have 2 losses in conference play, but they played Alabama and Georgia very close. So let's keep tabs on Vanderbilt. Now, if they're able to do that, they find themselves at 11-1 as kind of a 9 seed, right? So maybe they would be even an 8 seed. I don't know. If they can finish out, that's impressive. Well, let's watch Georgia Tech. Still a lot of football to be played. I think Texas is probably a team to still watch. You look in the SEC standings, they don't have an impressive resume, but they keep winning now. Even if it's in overtime, you just win, and that's it, okay? Then this is an interesting team right here, Miami. This is a 1-loss team that might not make the ACC championship game, which would be crazy. So that might benefit them. Because they lost to Louisville, it might prohibit their chances from making the ACC championship and finishing the season 11-1. They're not going to leave out Miami. They have a win over Notre Dame. That's the team that they bumped out. They have a win over South Florida. That's why when, South Florida lost to Miami, that's why it was such a critical game. So Miami takes their spot. Number 11, I got the Big 12 champ. I don't know who wins the Big 12. Your guess is as good as mine. I know BYU is kind of the hot team. I don't know if BYU is able to win this game. And then 12, I have Memphis. Memphis just beat South Florida, but still, I think even Navy at this point in time, as I'm cutting this video, is undefeated. But it's starting to get a little bit clearer. Next Tuesday, we will have the college football playoff rankings officially drop. So kind of lead open my AM show talking college football playoffs. What do you guys think? Do you have a different 1 through 4? Do you have questions about this? Let me know inside the comment box. Fun to talk about. Did you all see this? Jon Gruden, all right, got the Alabama black hoodie of death. And it was Ryan Grubb and Nick Sheridan who delivered the goods to Jon Gruden of now Barstool Sports. They also gave him a visor. They gave him another hoodie. And I don't know. They gave him something else. So it was a funny dialogue, and they showed just a clip of it. And I guess the reason that they're up at Barstool is to kind of, put some plays on the board and do some high-level college football talk, schematics. Jon Gruden loves it. So does Ryan Grubb. So does Nick Sheridan. I'm sure they were talking some fun, some ball, if you will, up in the office. But in this particular clip, and I'm sure you saw it, Jon Gruden's like, yo, what's in the box? And Ryan Grubb's like, I don't know. And Jon Gruden's like, it's probably a box of whoop, ASS. You guys have been playing so well. And Ryan Grubb just laughed. And then he asked Grubb, he's like, how do you like the SEC? He's like, you driving a big old truck right now? And Grubb's like, nah. He's like, I'm driving a GMC Hummer. And Gruden just kind of he's funny. Him and Ryan Williams, if you saw that interview, it was hilarious. So anyways, Jon Gruden, Ryan Grubb, Nick Sheridan, kicking it. And, you have to wonder, and I know I'm kind of like where I'm going to next is about the next college football coaches that are about to take over. I've been poking around and kind of doing some research. It looks like Jon Gruden is favored to be the next head football coach at Virginia Tech. I think he has the highest odds. I haven't, I was looking at that up earlier. But my other question, probably most importantly, do you think some of these schools, or which school do you think might start targeting Ryan Grubb? Do you think it'll happen? And I think that the better Alabama does, the more notoriety that Ryan Grubb is going to get. He already seems like a head coach, to be honest. He's done a great job here with the Alabama offense. I do feel that it's just a matter of time until he's a major name somewhere. When I look to the names on the board right now in terms of the schools that are open, I really don't see Grubb going after one of these jobs. I just don't. I'm trying to find the exact list I have here. Here's just a couple names or a couple jobs that are open, like Florida, LSU, Arkansas, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, Penn State. I think Oregon State has mentioned Ryan Grubb in like some small articles. I don't think there's any like real, smoke to that. UCLA is also open. I wouldn't touch UCLA at all if I was Ryan Grubb. So before I kind of move to this graphic, I don't know. What about you? Do you think that Ryan Grubb will get a call from a major program? And that's just how it is. We've been through this process several times under Coach Saban. It's like you can't get the main guy, so you go after the next guy. And Ryan Grubb is clearly the next guy. I think the scary thing to think about is if Ryan Grubb does leave, particularly anytime, but maybe after this season, is who does he take with him, right? Because this staff is really tight together. I hope that he doesn't leave, and I think maybe one more year would be great for him. You finish out this year. I mean, we're not even done with this year. You finish out this year, you have a really strong showing, and you continue to show that you can continue develop quarterbacks. Can you imagine if Ryan Grubb, think about it, Ryan Grubb is probably a hot name about to be here soon, but if he stays one more year, and you saw what he's done with Ty and Alabama's offense, and I know we're talking about the running game, we're kind of upset about that, but can you imagine if he does that with the next quarterback after Ty goes? Okay, Ryan Grubb, you just led Alabama to a championship game or helped the offense get to a championship game. You helped Ty Simpson be drafted number one. You developed him to help him get to the best. And now you're rolling with Keelan Russell, Austin Mack, whoever Alabama's next quarterback is. Then you get whatever job you want, not some Oregon State, not some job that isn't, kind of mid. You get like the next big job, and I'm talking like the major one. So maybe just kind of patience is a virtue. I think it's coming for Ryan Grubb, but I wouldn't be quick to dip out of Tuscaloosa because I think he's got something really good cooking. Plus, the talent that he has is extraordinary. You think the wide receivers are good this year? Just wait till they develop into next year. Missing Germie Bernard is going to hurt, I promise you. But as the guys grow up, you're going to be like, man, wow, look at these guys. Just wait till we get Sedarian Morgan on campus. So anyways, I thought that was a pretty good clip of those two guys together. You also have kind of looking at the major jobs that are currently open, and I just poked around with some odds just to see what was out there. Florida, I guess the leader for that job is Eli Drinkwitz right now, the Missouri coach, at plus 105. You also have James Franklin, plus 200. Clark Lee is another name that's been mentioned, and then Alex Golesh. I would love to see Alex Golesh get one of these opportunities. I mean, I think he'd probably be a hell of a coach at Florida. No disrespect to Eli Drinkwitz. I think he's done a great job at Missouri. There's just a competitive spirit, and schematically, I think that Alex Golesh has been able to do some wonderful things with South Florida. Imagine if he's able to get, I don't know who stays at Florida or whatever, but if he gets a quarterback that's kind of like Byron Brown, that quarterback that he had this year, and there's plenty of them that exist, man, Florida is going to be a menace, right? I don't know where DJ Lagway is and kind of all this, but maybe he turns, Lagway into a guy like that. Alex Golesh, I think, would probably be my pick if I was kind of going through those guys. Just, I've seen him at South Florida. He has a very good football team. They're always tough to handle. In fact, they come to Alabama next year in 2026. For LSU, I don't know. Lane Kiffin, I guess, is at plus 200. I also saw Joe Brady at plus 200. Here I have him at plus 400. John Summerall, right, the coach from Tulane. Those are some names that are kind of up for that job. Do you think that Lane jumps ship and goes to LSU from Ole Miss? I don't know. Joe Brady, that would be interesting. I've always thought, I think we've all thought, if Joe Brady is the guy, I think our eyes would be like, whoa, LSU just got Joe Brady. But then you got to be like, yo, if I'm Joe Brady or even Lane Kiffin, I'm like, wait. You guys fired your coach after he won 70% of his games, okay? I know I got to win, 95% of my games to keep my job. As Kirby Smart said this week, he was like, look, we're all renting our offices as, there's going to be another coach in here at some point in time. So, look, Lane Kiffin has a really nice setup at Ole Miss. He could finish 11-1 this season in the regular season, keep coaching at Ole Miss, have it made in the shade. He seems like he's doing well, seems, absolutely healthy. He's happy. He's funny. That's an easy life that he has. Plus, he's coaching at the highest level in the SEC, right? I just don't think that Ole Miss has what it takes to win a title. Arkansas. I guess Rhett Lashley, that kind of makes sense, right? I think there's some ties there where he could be the head football coach. I have no idea. I personally like Sam Pittman. I thought I think he's a great guy. I know Coach Saban at one point was trying to hire him as an offensive line coach. Things never worked out, but I don't even know where he's at now. John Summerall, another name mentioned there. And then I think it was even James Franklin. James Franklin is basically being mentioned for all these jobs, and I think he still wants to coach, right? And then Virginia Tech, as I was mentioning, Jon Gruden. I think that would be interesting. Oklahoma State, I saw Zach Robinson, who I think he's in the NFL right now, and then Penn State. You have Matt Rule, and I think that kind of seems like it's a matter of time. And want to get your take on that. Do you think Matt Rule goes to Penn State? I don't know. All right, next up. Talking about Ty Simpson. And hey, if you all are liking this content, please let me know inside the comment box. I've kind of been experimenting with some morning podcast style videos. It's a little bit different than my live shows in terms of this one's a little bit more dressed up. I had a little bit more time today, but I want this to be kind of a space where you can get ready, kind of catch up on the popular topics that are happening, and be knowledgeable going into that 10 a.m. show. So the 10 a.m. show is going to be our bread and butter. And as I've mentioned, I am going on vacation, a small vacation this week with my kids. But the 4 a.m. is kind of a window that I am exploring in terms of dropping some videos to help you get your day started. So let me know. All feedback is welcomed inside the comment box. Ty Simpson today was projected as the number one pick by CBS Sports for the 2026 NFL Draft. Pretty impressive. My goodness, right? You imagine within the last, 4 years, Alabama sent two guys that were the first picks in the NFL Draft, right? You had Bryce Young. He was number one. And then you had, Ty. I know it's rat poison. We'll file this under rat poison. It's far away. He could have very well thrown 3 interceptions against South Carolina if those guys could catch the ball. But what he's done and what he's doing and how he carries himself and the person that he is, this dude has, right? I mean, can you imagine his Heisman-type speech? I mean, the guy is like who you want like your kid to be like. Ty Simpson is the man. And on the field, his play has been exceptional. 20 touchdowns, 1 interception, high level of efficiency. I know he was on the struggle bus against South Carolina, but he rallied the team when they needed him. And that says a lot. It's how are you going to play when the game is on the line? That tells me a lot about you as opposed to if you're just beating up, soft, nerfy type competition. When you're really in the battle zone and the game is on the line, can you lead your team to a victory? And he did that last week. That says a lot, that victory against South Carolina to me. If you went to the Saints, I wouldn't be mad about it. I mean, it's not a far drive for us to just go down to the Big Easy. You know how I feel about New Orleans. I love that place. I love to go down there, get some oysters, and watch Ty Simpson, cook in the NFC. Not against the Niners, but I'm just saying I think the Saints would be a spot where I think he could do a little bit of work. He's got, Chris Olave down there. There's a couple other wide receivers kind of on the come up, but he would need a few more weapons. You never want to go to a place like, man, going to the Jets would be rough, okay? And I know Jets fans, there's probably some Jets fans out there. It's just, that's rough. That's a rough landing spot. So we'll continue to track that. And I think when you look to the NFL draft, you probably have maybe 4 players in the NFL draft from Bama in the first round. I'd say for sure Caden Proctor. I don't know where at. Maybe Germie Bernard. And then maybe like a LT Overton, right? Is that 4? All right. There was an interview. You should check it out. It was Jim Rome and Westwood One and Ty Simpson. They're discussing things. This happened on Tuesday. And Jim Rome's like talking about the Heisman Trophy and kind of, the far out stuff. And Ty Simpson's like, there's only 4 Heismans at Bama. And there's 6 national championships. And that is more important to me as a player. And that's why I wanted to come here to Alabama, was not for kind of the self-individual goals and awards, but it was rather to be a champion with the team. And that's another thing. That's why he's so easy to root for. He's a team-first guy. I think, the NIL opportunities, all that stuff's going to come to him. But this guy, and this is fact, he had opportunities to go elsewhere last year, right? When Milroe was going to be the guy and he got beat out by Milroe and, all that stuff, he could have went elsewhere. He could have been on social media and, cried about it. He didn't. He wanted to be here at Alabama. He wants to be the coach here. You remember this? So Ty Simpson is as locked in as you could be to Alabama. And I don't think that should be forgotten about as we continue to highlight him. And he displays that. He's just all Alabama. This dude is like 100% leveled up. Crimson Tide. Good to see it. I love that quote. Keep chasing that championship. Also, just came out on Tuesday that Alabama once again had the most watched game out of all the teams in the country. This happens every single week, okay? Alabama and South Carolina, 7.8 million viewers on ABC. The game peaked at 10.3 million viewers. Did you see? The president, he even watched the game. Did you see? He had a shout-out to the Alabama football team. He was introducing captain of the USS George Washington and said, "You're an Alabama fan, right? Timothy Waits, I believe." I don't have my notes in front of me. He was like, that was one hell of a comeback. It was like you came back from oblivion. So just thought it was funny. It's like when even the president is talking about Alabama football. I always say, like, all the major platforms, they have to have at least one Alabama video a day. Well, look who everybody's talking about Alabama football. Everybody. Other games, you had Texas A&M, LSU 6.8, Ole Miss, Oklahoma 6.6, and Missouri Vanderbilt 3.1. Oddly enough, that is where College Game Day went. College Game Day just follow around Alabama, and you'd be fine. For Alabama rushing stats, I'll go full screen on this, and I won't spend too much time talking about the Alabama run game or lack thereof because we've been discussing that a lot lately. But just to kind of give you a snapshot of the season totals, we have Jam with 80 total carries for a net of 308. Kevin Riley, who doesn't even play anymore, he has 47 attempts for 181. You have Germie Bernard, their top wide receiver, who has 15 carries for 94. A.K. Deere, he don't play either. He has 7 carries for 85. And then Daniel Hill, who's kind of been, getting more volume lately, he has 22 for 83. So and then Richard Young has 19. Wow. 19 for 48, just a 2.5 yard average. So there's kind of a snapshot. I'm not going to spend a lot of time there, but a couple things that do stand out to me is like, number one, what happened to Kevin Riley? What happened to him? He just stopped playing? Did he hit his quota or something like that? Germie Bernard, hats off to this guy. He's 3rd on the team in rushing and 1st in the team in receiving. And I think I'm going to ask, do I have the stats of the wide receivers next? Oh, yeah, I do. I have a question for you on Germie Bernard coming up next. A.K. Deere, the guy don't even play, and he's 1, 2, 3. He's fourth on the team in rushing. He played 2 games, and he's fourth. So there's your stats right there for Alabama's running. And look, even at the bottom, you have Crispy over here, Caden Proctor, 4 attempts for a net of 15, which is a 1.9 average. Here's the Alabama receiving stats as well. You have Germie Bernard, who's up at the top. He has 38 receptions, 526, averaging 13.8. Ryan Williams played in just 7 games, missed week 2, 33 for 495. Isaiah Horton, 8 for 22 catches, 272. Oh, the update on Isaiah Horton, in case you were looking for it, is he's got a hammy. So hamstring, which will be something to watch. I mean, look, I follow the 49ers, and George Kittle had a hammy, and he was out like 4 weeks. I don't even think Coach Kalen DeBoer has addressed it. That's just kind of out there. Something to watch, certainly. I mean, if Isaiah Horton needs some time, you start looking to the other guys on the roster. And there's been some guys that have played, but they don't have the same type of catch volume as Horton. So, for example, you go next down, you go Lazier Brooks. He was out last game. And then it's Rico Scott. He has 10 for 87. You have Cole Adams, 3 for 45. Caleb Edwards, who's a tight end. And maybe like a Derek Meadows, who's seen some time. So it would be interesting to see, like, if Isaiah Horton can't go, I would see probably more production from like a Rico Scott. You know what? What about Jalen Mbakwe? We're going to see Jalen Mbakwe this year? I don't know. And my question for you regarding Germie Bernard, and I still haven't heard you guys answer this. Who is next year's Germie Bernard for Alabama? And what I mean by that is clearly this offense, I think they're always going to have a player that they want to be kind of like a Debo Samuel. It's going to be pretty soon like the germ, right? Who's going to be the germ this year? So who's going to be the germ next year? Out of the players that you see here, is there a player on the board that can be kind of that germ? Could it be a Sadarian Morgan coming in? Could it be Ryan Williams, a little bit more bulked up? Could it be a Rico Scott? Could it be a smaller guy like Lazier Brooks? Who could be kind of that germ? So that's the new word. Who's the germ next year? I don't know. Sound off inside the comment box. I guess if I had to answer right now, I'd think like maybe Rico Scott or Ryan. You imagine Ryan out there, Sadarian Morgan, Rico Scott, Isaiah Horton, and he comes back. You know, the other guys start to grow up. And I guess Jalen Hell's another guy that we're just not going to see. You know, maybe some other time, but we just haven't seen him at all. I guess is that where we're at? Okay. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the AM podcast, and I hope you are off to an amazing start today on Wednesday, October 29th. As you know, I will be live at 10 a.m. Central Time. So I appreciate you guys coming to kick it with me right here on Bama Football on YouTube. And if you're out there and you're listening, and if you want to become a fan funder, I'll show you how. A fan funder is basically you support the YouTube channel. And you can hit the join button. And there's different levels to become a fan funder. It's easy to sign up. It's easy to cancel. So I really appreciate your consideration in doing that. It helps me as a content creator. And, with that said, I'll let you guys get back to your breakfast or driving someone to school or, your workout, whatever you're doing. Stay blessed. Stay where your feet are at. Catch me at 10 a.m. right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I sincerely appreciate you. I hope you had a great morning show. And catch you here in a few hours right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Love you, fam. See ya.